What if I told you history is filled with stories so unbelievable they sound completely made up? A man who believed he was Jesus' brother and sparked one of history's deadliest wars. An army that lost a war against birds. And an entire city brought to a standstill by a flood of molasses. And somehow, every one of these stories is true. Here are 5 history facts that sound fake, but aren't. Our next story takes us to 19th century China. A young man named Xiuquan spent years studying for the imperial examinations, hoping to earn a government position. But after repeatedly failing the difficult tests, he suffered a severe emotional breakdown. During this period, Hong experienced a series of vivid visions. At first, he didn't fully understand them. Years later, after reading Christian religious texts, he came to a remarkable conclusion. Hong became convinced that he was the younger brother of Jesus Christ. Most people might have kept such a belief to themselves. Hong did not. Instead, he began preaching his message across China. To the surprise of many, thousands of people listened, then tens of thousands. Eventually, his movement grew into a massive rebellion known as the Taiping Rebellion. For more than a decade, armies fought across China in one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. Millions of people lost their lives. Today, Hong Xiuquan remains one of history's most unusual and influential figures, a man whose extraordinary belief helped change the course of a nation. Our next story begins with an emperor who ruled a country that wasn't truly his. In the 1860s, Maximilian of Austria was offered the crown of Mexico. Backed by the French Empire, he accepted and traveled across the Atlantic to begin his new reign. Maximilian believed he could bring stability and prosperity to the country. But the reality was very different. Many Mexicans refused to recognize him as their rightful emperor. As political tensions grew, support from France slowly disappeared. Without the protection of French troops, Maximilian found himself increasingly isolated. Eventually, Republican forces captured the emperor. Although many European leaders pleaded for mercy, the sentence remained unchanged. In 1867, Maximilian was executed by firing squad. His brief reign lasted only a few years. Today, he is remembered as one of history's most unusual monarchs, a European archduke who crossed an ocean to become Emperor of Mexico, only to lose both his throne and his life. Our next story takes us to Australia in the year 1932. After the First World War, many veterans were given farmland in Western Australia. But they soon faced an unexpected problem. Thousands of emus began migrating through the region. The large birds trampled crops, damaged fences, and caused widespread frustration for local farmers. With the situation growing worse, the Australian government made an unusual decision. It sent soldiers armed with machine guns to stop the birds. The operation sounded simple enough. Instead, the emus proved remarkably difficult to catch. They scattered in every direction, outran the soldiers, and quickly disappeared into the countryside. Despite several attempts, very few birds were eliminated. Before long, the military operation was called off. The emus had effectively won. Today, the event is remembered as the Great Emu War. It remains one of history's strangest military campaigns, proving that sometimes nature can be a far more challenging opponent than anyone expects. Our next story begins on the island of Borneo during the 1950s. Health officials were working to eliminate mosquitoes that spread malaria. To do this, they sprayed villages with a powerful insecticide. At first, the plan appeared to work. Mosquito numbers quickly declined. But before long, an unexpected chain of events began. The insecticide also poisoned many insects that local geckos relied upon for food. Cats hunted the weakened geckos and were poisoned as well. As the cat population disappeared, rats multiplied rapidly. The growing rat population threatened food supplies and increased the risk of disease. To solve the new problem, Officials came up with an unusual solution. They loaded dozens of cats into aircraft and gently parachuted them into the affected villages. The operation became known as Operation Cat Drop. It remains one of history's most unusual examples of how solving one problem can sometimes create another, and how in this case, the solution quite literally fell from the sky. Our next story takes us to Boston in the year 1919. On a cold January afternoon, a massive steel storage tank stood quietly along the city's waterfront. Inside were more than 2 million gallons of molasses. Without warning, the enormous tank suddenly burst. Witnesses described hearing a deep rumble before a towering wave of molasses rushed through the streets. The thick syrup swept away buildings, wagons, and anything else in its path. Rescuers struggled to move through the sticky flood as they searched for survivors. When the cleanup was finally complete, investigators spent months trying to determine why the tank had failed. Some believed poor construction was to blame. Others pointed to the unusually warm weather that day. Today, the Great Molasses Flood remains one of the strangest industrial disasters in American history. A reminder that even something as ordinary as molasses can become the center of an extraordinary story. Those were 5 history facts that sound completely fake, but actually happened. If you enjoyed this video, there's plenty more unbelievable history still to uncover, so be sure to subscribe for more bizarre history every week. And tell me in the comments, which fact was the hardest to believe? Until next time, remember, history is often stranger than fiction.